It is 2026. Airline passengers around the world buckle up for takeoff. A calm, friendly voice comes over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your flight attendant speaking. Please fasten your seatbelts and enjoy your flight. The accent is unmistakably Filipino. Gentle, clear, inviting. Not long ago, this very English was mocked as funny. Today, it is the global standard for safety and hospitality in the skies. Major airlines now train their crews to speak with a Filipino accent. Call centers in London, New York, and Dubai ask for it by name. The world, once amused by its cadence, now trusts it with their lives during emergencies. What triggered this dramatic shift? The answer traces back decades, to a journey marked by struggle and pride. This is the story of Filipino English, how it conquered not only prejudice, but the world's busiest airways. And woven into this tale is the life of Clara, a veteran flight attendant whose voice became a beacon for travelers everywhere. Clara Santos grew up in Quezon City, learning English from her teachers and her mother's soap operas. She dreamed of seeing the world. At 22, she became a flight attendant, her smile as bright as her ambition. But the first time she landed in Hong Kong, her English made people snicker. "You sound so funny," her international colleagues teased. Passengers sometimes mimicked her, laughing as she served meals. It stung. Clara practiced her English, trying to copy American and British accents. She listened to tapes, repeated phrases, even pinched her nose to sound different. Nothing seemed to erase the Filipino in her voice. Her supervisor once told her, "Just speak clearly and smile, they will listen." Clara kept flying, kept smiling. She watched her friends struggle too. Some cried in the crew room after being mocked. Others learned to hide their accents at work. Clara refused. "This is how my mother speaks. This is how I will speak too," she whispered. Little did she know, her voice was about to become her greatest strength. In the early years, Clara felt alone. During layovers in Europe, other flight attendants from different countries would joke about her sing-song way of speaking. Some passengers rolled their eyes when she gave announcements. Others corrected her pronunciation loudly, as if she were a child in school. There were moments when Clara wanted to give up. She once overheard two passengers say, "I hope the pilot doesn't sound like her. It hurt more than turbulence." Clara called home to her mother, who always said, "Your voice is special, anak. You make people feel safe." But sometimes, even a mother's encouragement felt far away at 30,000 feet. Clara noticed, though, that Filipino passengers smiled when she spoke. They called her ate and thanked her for making them feel at home. Still, the laughter and the mocking stayed with her. It was a heavy baggage to carry, flight after flight. But everything changed one stormy night over the Pacific. It was supposed to be a routine flight, but halfway across the ocean, the plane hit sudden turbulence. The cabin shook. Passengers grabbed their armrests, faces pale with fear. Some started to cry, others prayed in silence. Clara's heart raced, but she remembered her training. "Stay calm. Communicate." She picked up the microphone and spoke, her Filipino English steady and warm. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated and keep your seatbelts fastened. We are experiencing some turbulence, but everything is under control." Her voice carried through the cabin, gentle but clear. The panic began to fade. Passengers looked at her, eyes trusting, clutching her words like a lifeline. When the turbulence ended, a mother from Germany took Clara's hand. "Your voice calmed us all," she said, tears in her eyes. Even the pilots thanked her for keeping the cabin calm. The funny accent, once a target of jokes, had become a source of comfort. After that flight, Clara noticed more passengers listening closely when she spoke. She realized the power of her voice, not in how it sounded, but in what it made people feel. Clara's experience was not unique. All over the world, Filipino workers were finding their voices on phone lines and flight decks. Call centers in Manila boomed because clients loved the clarity and friendliness of Filipino English. Airlines from the Middle East to North America began hiring more Filipino crew, not just for their skills but for their accents. Training manuals changed. Instead of erasing the Filipino accent, companies encouraged it. "Speak as you do at home," new recruits were told. Airlines found that passengers trusted announcements spoken in Filipino English. It was easy to understand, polite, and never rushed. In emergencies, it did not add to the panic. Instead, it soothed. Airline executives noticed something else. Filipino English could bridge passengers from many countries, especially in Asia and the Middle East. It was globally neutral, yet uniquely warm. The demand for Filipino voices spread to hospitals, schools, and even smartphone apps. What was once a disadvantage was now in high demand. The world had found a new gold standard for communication. How did English become so widely spoken in the Philippines? The answer lies deep in the country's history. After the Spanish era, the Americans established public schools in the early 1900s. English became the language of government, business, and education. But Filipinos did not just copy American English, they made it their own. Filipino English mixed local expressions and soft tones with English grammar. It kept the politeness of Filipino culture, using words like po and opo for respect. Over time, it developed its own rhythm and melody. Some people in the West laughed at this accent, calling it broken or strange, but it was never broken. It was simply Filipino. By the late 20th century, English was spoken in offices, markets, and homes across the islands. It became a bridge between hundreds of local languages, and later, between the Philippines and the world. What outsiders once saw as a flaw was, in fact, a unique strength. Airlines are always searching for the clearest, calmest way to communicate. After many studies, they realized the Filipino accent checked every box. It was easy for both native and non-native speakers to understand. It was never too sharp or too flat. It sounded friendly, not cold. Researchers found that Filipino English reduced misunderstandings during safety briefings. Passengers from Japan to Brazil reported feeling more at ease. Some airlines even rewrote their training scripts to include Filipino phrasing. Cabin crew from other countries were taught to slow down, to smile while speaking, just like their Filipino colleagues. The airline industry was not alone. Hospitals in Europe started hiring Filipino nurses and teaching them to speak over intercoms during emergencies. Even tech companies asked for Filipino voices for their helplines. The world learned that clear, kind communication saves lives, and Filipino English became the new gold standard. What makes the Filipino accent so special? It's not just the sound, it's the feeling behind the words. Filipinos are taught from childhood to show respect, to listen, and to feel what others feel. This empathy comes through in the way they speak English. Filipino English is careful, never harsh. It uses polite phrases and a gentle tone. In times of trouble, it calms rather than alarms. Passengers say they feel at home when they hear it. Even in call centers, customers report that Filipino agents seem to care more, to listen better. This isn't just a cultural trait, it's a survival skill. In a country often hit by typhoons and challenges, Filipinos have learned to stay calm and help each other. That spirit shines through in their English, making it not just a language but a comfort. This blend of clarity, warmth, and empathy is now what the world seeks. There have been many times when Filipino English made a difference in life's most frightening moments. During Typhoon Haiyan, Filipino call center workers stayed on the line, guiding foreign tourists to safety. In aviation, there are stories of Filipino flight attendants calming panicked passengers during emergency landings, their voices steady even when the world outside shook. The world noticed. A British passenger once wrote about how a Filipino nurse's soothing English saved his wife's life in a Manila hospital. Airline passengers shared stories online, describing how Filipino cabin crew helped them breathe easier during turbulence. These moments prove that communication is about more than perfect grammar or accent. It's about connection, trust, and hope. In times of crisis, the world listens for a calm, Filipino voice. And Clara, once mocked for her accent, became a symbol of that hope. Today, Clara stands before new recruits, her voice full of pride. She tells them, "Speak as you are. The world is listening." No longer does she try to hide her accent. She wears it, like her uniform, with honor. What was once a source of shame is now a badge of resilience and contribution. Filipino English is more than just words. It is a gift. It is the sound of kindness and courage, woven into the fabric of global communication. From airlines to hospitals, classrooms to call centers, the Filipino voice leads with clarity and heart. Clara's journey mirrors that of her nation, from laughter to leadership, from mockery to mastery. Filipino English is no longer just funny, it is trusted, beloved, and unstoppable. And as the world soars higher, it does so on the wings of a voice once laughed at, now lifted in pride.